Today we're going to draw our Tar Beach illustration. Your illustration should be something that tells us about your life. It could be your community, it could be your favorite place, it could be a happy memory. Last time we did a lot of different thumbnail drawings to get ideas for this project. Now, you want to make sure that you have a lot of details in your picture, sort of like clues, so that when people look at it, they can sort of figure out who is in the picture and what is going on and where you are. So whenever I draw mine, I always like to start with the horizon line. The horizon line is where the sky touches the ground. So any buildings, trees, vehicles need to make sure that they are setting on the ground and not floating up in the sky. If you want to draw yourself flying in the sky, sort of like Faith Ringgold did, that is totally fine. My first idea, I drew many different kinds of city buildings. It was fun to do the different shapes because it made my picture more interesting than just having all the same shape of building. It also gave me a chance to write some different signs and words on the picture so that people would have more clues about where I was. I also had some ideas to do some different vacations that I'd been on, to the mountains or camping or fishing or whatever. I also started with a horizon line, and then I added some mountains on top of the horizon line, and I even drew a river that comes into the foreground and gets a little bit bigger as it gets closer. I thought about who else was with me at this vacation, and I thought about the different trees and things that also might be in the landscape. I also thought about some memories from my childhood. In this picture, I also started with a horizon line. I drew a house on it, but then in order to fill up the background more, I added sort of some more horizon lines so that it ended up looking like several hills. And then on each hill, I could put things farther back in the background like tiny houses. And it really filled up my picture in an interesting way and allowed me to add more details so that I could show what else was around me in this memory. So now that we have our ideas, we can pick our favorite one and get started on our large paper. So for this picture, I've decided to do an illustration of my grandpa's house that I used to visit when I was a kid. So I'm going to start with the horizon line at the bottom of the page. And when I draw my grandpa's house, I'm actually going to scooch it off to the side of the picture. That way I can include other details instead of just the house. I can include the horses that he used to have in his yard that we used to ride. I can include the woods in the background that I used to like to play in. So as many details as we can fit in our picture is going to give the viewer more clues about what's going on. I'm also thinking about the house. How can I make the house interesting? What was it made of? Was it made of bricks? Was it made of stone? Is the building made of wood? Does it have plants or bushes around it? Does it have a patio or steps out front? All of these different details can really make my picture more interesting and give the viewer clues about what's going on. Now that I've drawn the setting for my picture, I need to add myself. If you want to put yourself on the ground, that's fine, but I'm going to do this sort of Faith Ringgold style and draw myself flying in the air. Now, one important thing that you need to remember is that there are no stick people allowed for this project. So we're going to draw our people using simple shapes. So to draw my person flying in the sky, I'm going to start with an oval for the head. Then I'm going to do two short lines down for the neck. Then for the body, I'm going to do another larger oval. And then for my arms and legs, I can just use some long rectangles. I'm going to put the rectangles up above my head because I want it to look like I'm flying in the sky. And then my legs can be rectangles as well. Now after you start with these simple shapes, you can add really interesting details for clothes and face and hair on top. Like if I wanted my person to look like they're wearing a dress, I could just very easily draw that shape over the top and then erase the shapes that were left underneath. for our face, we can just add some eyes, a curved line for the nose, and a curved line for the mouth. I like to add eyebrows. Eyebrows can give your person a lot of personality, and it's really fun to experiment with adding different types of facial expressions. Are they frowning? Are they happy? Are they surprised with an open round mouth? It can really be fun to make your people creatively. All right, now after I'm done drawing my person, I can always add different patterns to the clothing. To make my picture more interesting to look at. Now when we are done drawing our picture, the last step is outlining all of our pencil lines with a black Sharpie. Make sure that you don't color anything in with Sharpie or pencil because we're going to color this in with crayon later. When you're done with Sharpie, you can use an eraser to erase any leftover pencil lines that might be on your paper.